Hello, Glengarry Gators. It's Mrs. O'Connell. I'm going to read a couple chapters on the one and only Bob. So here we go. The first one is Good Words, Bad Words. I've never met a dog who didn't get a big old grin on his kisser when Walk slipped into a conversation. Dogs understand more than you might think. The Nature Channel says we're about as smart as the average human toddler. 2 years old, my fuzzy rump. We're a million times brainier than some babbling rugrat. There was a dog on that man's best friend show who supposedly understood like 1,000 human words. Border Collie, I think. Those guys need to switch to decaf. The narrator was gushing about this wonder dog, and I'm like, well, duh, Brainiac, of course we understand people. Not everything, mind you, but some of us are more attentive than others. Depends on a lot of just how interesting your human happens to be. Certain words will really cause our ears to perk up. The classic treat, walk, frisbee, bacon, and don't forget swear words like vet, bath, fireworks, and vacuum cleaner. We always hear those. The next chapter is Clock versus Moon. Julie and I waited by the front door where George says, "Goodbye, Sarah. I think maybe the hardest thing for me about being domesticated pet, if you insist, is that I can't control my own schedule. If I had my own way, I'd hang out with Ivan and Ruby all day, every day. Unfortunately, humans love their clocks. Dogs, we use the sky to tell time. Like any sensible creature, sky tells it's dawn, time to eat, it's noon, time to eat, it's afternoon, time to eat, it's dusk, time to eat, it's midnight, time to eat. Point is, it's always time to eat. Dogs have a thing for the moon too, like wolves and coyotes and our other relatives. No calendar for us. Moon looks like a claw moon. Moon looks like a half pancake. Moon looks like a tennis ball. Moon looks like a claw again. A chunk of time passed. But humans, nope, that's not enough. It's not a chunk. It's a month. It's not just dawn. It's 6:32 a.m. on a Thursday. And oh boy, we'd better hurry up to go off to school or the office or change the baby. But who gives a wolf about feeding the poor? Starving, sad-eyed, grumbling tummy dog. After a spell, I got used to the comings and goings of Julie and her mom and dad. But it keeps changing. Julie leaves early for school and is gone most of the day. She returns home excited and energized. Good sense, mostly. But every now and then, she comes back smelling a little like me after a visit to the dog trainer, battle-weary and ready to crawl under the covers. Sarah, who was pretty sick for a while, is feeling fine again. Thank goodness. But when she went back to work, she's away all day too. And George, who has a job at Ivan's place, works 5, sometimes 6 days a week. That means it's just me and the guinea pig and a lot of time. I have a doggy door and an outside run, but it's not the same as touring the neighborhood with your person. Peeing without a potential audience is like talking to yourself. Sometimes I'm the tiniest bit jealous of Ivan and Ruby. They always have someone around, which is crazy, I know. I'm free, and they're not. But there it is. Told you I'm not a saint. All right, the next chapter is The Shelter. I know our route to Ivan and Ruby by heart. I can't help tugging a bit, even though I'm not supposed to. It's been a couple of days since I've seen my pals, and I need my friend fix, like I need air and water and a belly rub. We don't live far down to the end of the street around the corner. Good news, source there. Then a few more blocks. When I walk Julia, well, okay, I suppose it looks like she's walking me, but I beg to differ. There's a place we pass that always makes me jumpy and bummed. It's the animal shelter. And I know it's a good place, a space for pets who don't have a safe home of their own. When I was abandoned on the highway, just a few weeks old, a nice cage with a soft towel in it and a bowl of fresh water. Well, I would have given just anything for that. Still, when I walk by and hear all those desperate barks and meows and squeaks, it gets to me. Sometimes having great hearing is a pain. Thing is, I realize I have a home and the gang in there doesn't. And I try not to think about the stuff like, it's not like I can do anything about their tough breaks, right? And in fairness, maybe those animals aren't like me. I've always been resilient, a hardworking sort. Maybe some of those guys even made their own bad luck. Don't get me wrong, I try to be a nice guy. I do what I can to make the world a better place. Chat with the guinea pigs, lick the strawberry jelly off Julia's hand, do my wag a dance when the rents come home to make 'em feel good. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. But it's like I said before, you got to look out for numero uno. Guess that's why the shelter harshes me mellow. It's just, I'd rather not have to hear those guys every time I walk by. It makes me sad. Reminds me of the bad old days. Drulius is the next chapter. I knew this guy back when I hung out at the mall with Ivan and Ruby. Nice dog named Drulius. Basic mutt, maybe some lab, and golden in there somewhere. He's done some hard time at a couple shelters. One of those dogs you knew had seen more than their share of bad stuff. The world can throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Julius lived in his backyard, winter, spring, summer, and fall. Chained up mostly. Flies in his food, empty water bowl off way too often. Still, he always had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on the daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash. Once I saw his owner again that word, step onto the back porch, Julius was barking, but he had a good reason. A stranger had just passed by. Barking is what we're supposed to do in that circumstance, right? Maybe he's a UPS guy. Maybe he's a serial killer. Come on, we're not the FBI. So anyways, owner came out, big guy, mean looking, gave Julius a hard kick in his boot, yelled, "Shut up, you fool!" Disappeared. Julius looked at me kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again, put some towels on the line. Julius headed over, tail between his legs, cowering, saying, "I'm sorry, I love you. I am yours, with his whole dog being. Guy completely ignored him, headed back inside. He's having a tough time, said Julius when the guy was gone. He's a jerk, I said, because subtly he's not my strong point. No, he loves me. He does. He has a funny way of showing it. Humans, said Julius, licking a sore on his leg. You know how they can be. Do I ever? But we got to stay true. Love 'em, forgive 'em. I thought about that. Thought about it a lot. Why, though? I finally asked, why do we have to forgive them? Julius looked shocked, then confused, as if I just asked why cheese tastes good. It just does. That's the way it is, he said. That's what we do, Bob. I started to reply, but I managed to hold my tongue, which is not easy for me. It's a very long tongue with a mind of its own. There was no point in making Julius feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found a half of a turkey sandwich and gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I had to taste it first, but still. The next chapter is forgiveness. Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zoomies or doing bed boogies. It's written into our canine soul. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo. The one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive the humans who tossed me and my siblings out into the night? When you forgive, you lose your anger. And when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you can get hurt all over again. All right, the next chapter is the art of human watching. By the time we reach the park, the sky is definitely in a bad mood. Gray clouds galloping like panicked horses. The nervous scent of rain on the way, the kind that makes you antsy in your own skin. When we get near the employee entrance, I hop into Julia's backpack like always. We enter through the special gate where George shows his ID, checks in, and says hi to the staff. Pet dogs aren't allowed in the park. Natch, foxes, wolves, jackals, my dog cousins, they are. But in my opinion, even though they're technically part of my extended family, they're nothing like dogs. Only dogs have perfected the art of human watching. The smartest thing we ever did was figure out how important the human gaze is. So often, we follow our owner's eyes. We're rewarded with something amazing. A smelly sock, a glazed donut that has fallen on the smelly sock. We follow every blink, every sidelong glance. We see it, whatever it is, before humans do. We understand before they do. And if there's a glazed donut involved, we eat it before they do. All right, that's the end of my chapters. Happy reading.